Hey guys, it's Farrell. I apologize. This video is going to be a little disjointed because when I recorded it, it was just after installing the Windows Creator Update, and of course, Microsoft decided to screw me over yet again by changing all of the audio device IDs, meaning I've got nothing recorded from my commentary in this episode, so I get to re-comment. Joy. As you can see here, I'm at the Old City, and I'm showing you guys something new that I've put in, which is a Skyway, and it's actually a little further enhanced further back, which I'll show you that in a little later clip. I wanted to kind of go over a little bit of a new approach that I've had to taking on the city here. Because obviously one of the problems with taking on the city are the furnace rooms where there's 1,000,001 spawners. It's very difficult to get in there, especially with the blazes and everything, and pick up all of the stuff that you need. Well, I kind of came up with a slightly better way to work around it, and the great news is the resources for it readily available. The EFLN, or I keep messing up the name on that. This is the stuff that you make out of just gunpowder and gravel, and as you're going to see here in a little bit of a second when I get up to this building, it's definitely worth considering. That's one thing there, and it has blasted a beautiful chunk in there, and as you can see, these are more than capable of taking out a building without destroying anything on the inside. They drop everything they blow up. So the result is if there's spawners hidden somewhere, you can take that out. If there's glass somewhere, you get the glass back. I'm getting all the andesite that's going to be coming out of this building, all of the structure that's behind it. And if the creeper over there, that's okay. We can launch the creeper. I was not expecting him to launch forward like that, but they will do that. And so you have to be a little careful when you're using it around mobs. It doesn't actually injure the mobs, of course, either, but you know, it's a slight trade-off. The great thing is, though, the spawners, oh yeah, it does those in very handily. You'll actually see here in a moment when I can get down underneath that building that there is spawner debris just over, I believe, out of the corner of the view there. It just has no problem taking on any of that. And of course, I'm being somehow assaulted from all directions here by just mobs all over the place. But that's okay. Nice little well-placed explosion. Never hurts anything. So yeah, that explosive does a really good job, and it's primarily intended to go mining, and it's how I actually dug out one of the shafts at my base. And of course, the problem is when you do it that way, it tends to bring down all the sand on top of you. So if you're thinking about using this to go mining underground, probably not a good idea, unless you really like to have lots and lots and lots and lots of sand, as I'm gathering up here. This is kind of the biggest problem of doing this on the surface, is there's just tons of stuff I want to pick up, and of course now it's dark under there, it's potentially spawning stuff. Never mind stuff trying to walk in on me like that, but this is definitely a viable tactic for going after the stuff in the desert cities. In fact, I really kind of would love to try taking on the map again and actually do it by using that particular method of going after them. Bring in some EFLN, because everything you get is readily given to you by sifting or going after other stuff. And I believe that was actually a spider spawner that dropped back there. I could run around the city like crazy, because there are spawners dropped in all over the place in this city. They're covered up. They're barely there. They're buried in sand. I swear some of them feel like custom spawners, like a Vex map spawner almost. They're like wide angle and whatnot, because they are just coming out of the woodwork like crazy. But this makes it really safe and viable to go after, you know, the various buildings that have creepers in them, that have cave spiders in them. I could take them underground and actually use them on the cave spider spawners in the mine shaft, but probably not a safe idea. Great way to visually and quickly check out if a building is actually safe. I mean, is it, you know, is there a floor up above that's been there? If it blows up a chest, it just drops everything that's in the chest there. No big deal. Now, unfortunately, the guy down there dropped a decent bow, but it's not going to be all that good of a bow. You can see here I'm trying out using it on some of the upper floors of the building and kind of systematically take stuff down. You know, because I know there are spawners burning all over this map. And unfortunately, I didn't have quite enough of the explosives to get into there, but that's good enough for showing that this concept will actually work. Basically, at this point, I just want to try to get in and get anything I can, because I can pick up a wealth of building supplies. In fact, the andesite's actually almost the most valuable thing out here, just because I can't get it anywhere else. The brownstone, at least, well, yeah, I can use it. It's a little faster, but you can see I've got some other methods for working with some fast travel over here. There, I've been surprised by a dweller. These guys love to just pop out of the middle of nowhere out of these bases, unfortunately. And it makes it pretty hard to go after stuff underground, especially in the mine shafts. They just, you think nothing's behind you, and then poof. Unfortunately, what I'm doing here is kind of recklessly using up my arrows. I don't have a lot of them on me, but that's not going to matter too soon. You might have just seen it out of the bottom corner of the screen here. There's a spawner I just picked up. So that worked out great because that's one less thing I have to worry about taking out and potentially getting injured trying to take on. Now, unfortunately, I thought I'd be able to actually use the spawners for something, but it looks like the recipes that I would normally call on to make spawners in Ender IO might just be disabled, which I don't quite understand, because I know that on Nemson's playthrough, he's done work with spawners. So there's either a way to pick them up intact or otherwise create them, and I do need to actually create them because I badly need blaze rods. You can see over here I'm actually picking up some ardite, or not ardite, cobalt. I actually also have some ardite from this area as well. I went through and picked that up from one of my earlier explosive chests. Just picked up a slime sling, so if anyone who's been going on about, oh, I should get slime boots and go bouncing around, I've got one now, but you're going to see it's kind of actually irrelevant, largely. I have a much faster way of getting back and forth between here and my base, and it's somewhat, well, I don't know if it's necessarily faster, but it is definitely safer. I've put some additional lighting down outside of the building here just because I was getting swarmed in here, and it's kind of a sucky thing to have to worry about constantly doing breaking stuff in order to get in and out here. This is kind of like a really bit of a kludge system at best. And, especially once you've got a full inventory. Now, once I pop in here, my heat's doing pretty good because I'm out here in the dead of winter right now. There's not much going on, but you can see there's all the spawners that I've picked up so far. I've got the cobalt ingots. Not exactly going to use that for Manelian just yet. I could use the cobalt for other purposes, though. I'm going to have to play around with that later, but that's going to be in a future episode. Good news is since I last played, the cactus generation of water has been restored. That was really becoming an annoyance the last few times that I've been playing. And now I don't have to worry about that. Cactus can... It's still 4 cactus to make the water, so that is back. Much rejoicing after that of not needing all the massive fruit farms. So now I can kind of free up some of my trees, hopefully, back in my base. Now you can see over here I've kind of made a path through the buildings. This is not safe, obviously, because everything in the world can spawn outside. But over here, this was the initial Skyway out to the village out here, or to the city ruins. Everything along here has now been lit up on the inside for the buildings. And I'm going to run out this way. You can see I've put like a little sissy bar on the edge there. That is primarily to keep stuff from shooting me off. And as you can see, it's joined by another one. We're going to see that's going to change a little further up here. Because I found a great way to travel very quickly. Minecraft, the latest versions and snapshots and whatnot, introduced the concrete dust and concrete. Well, Chisel has created that in their mod pack, and they've given it the speed bonus. So watch what happens when I hit this section here and take off. This is me standing. Everything's torched out to keep sand from building up on this path. And check this out. I am walking at this point. You can confirm that by looking at the temperature info screen at the top, or the left side of the screen. I'm not running yet. And I'm moving out fast. Now I'm running, and look how fast I am chewing up the distance. I've got the lower set of slabs there as well. This is basically keeping me more or less safe along the entire run here. About the only thing that's going to hit me from up in the air here is going to be the blizzes. And you can see I am just eating up the distance going back and forth. And in fact, I could probably even potentially make this even faster if I wanted to actually borrow a little bit of redstoning that we did on the redstone challenge, because when you put down water on this stuff and that water hits you, you go flying. Now at the end here, it's regular slabs, so basically when you hit the end, you slow right down to normal walking speed. I've kind of figured out that when you're in there, that path is running at about the speed of a good mine cart, actually. So that is working out pretty slick. Much quicker to get back and forth, it's safer. I've got a little more work to do before it's actually fully out to the city, but definitely absolutely worth it. So I'm kind of looking over here and realizing, well, I've got the flint there, I've got the gunpowder there. I think I'm sitting on like 35 of it at this point, so more than enough to go out and make tons of EFLN and take on the structures in that city. I mean, I could just carpet bomb the thing from above if I wanted to, just with enough cobble and everything. So now they've got the cactus farm back up and going essentially for this. It's a lot easier to keep water going. You see I've got a tank here now, so I'm actually able to produce it somewhat easier. Does seem to have a bit of a bug with insertion from pipes, though. It likes to put in extra, or even hoppers for that matter, it likes to put in stuff that it can't actually hold for turning into water. So you'll fill it up with the first 4 items, and the hopper or pipe will continue to insert another one, and another one, and another one, even though it can't actually take it, and as far as I can tell, that results in the item being completely lost. So that is why I'm still, at this point, going through and doing all of that manually. I haven't actually looked to see if I can make an aqueous accumulator, but I kind of doubt that I will be able to. So lots of stuff going on in here. My storage system is very much in a bit of a shambles. And you'll see I've got 2 items in there that I didn't even think about. The upgrades for Ender IO machines. You'll see I'm going to tackle those in a little bit later, hopefully. I also have the gold lasso because I went down and got myself a bat in the mine shaft underground. So once I have the ability to get a ghast, I'll actually be able to go through and potentially get a ring of flight. Now the problem is with the ghast. That's a little tricky. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm necessarily going to catch a ghast. I haven't seen Nemson go into... well, he's had to have gone to the Nether because he's got the ring in his playthrough. I've been to the Nether, and unfortunately, it's a void Nether with 2 fortresses right next to your portal, and it's definitely going to hurt to try to explore that. I barely survived getting shot by a ghast before. So as you can see, I've moved over my sieving arrangement here, and I have been letting the system kind of run away on its own. Lava generation is working out pretty good. I mean, it's not great, but during the day it's got the solar panels to kind of boost its power, and right now I've actually kind of cut the cobble out of it. I'm doing this to go after more sand and also some more dust, because I am completely out of redstone, and I'm hitting quests that require a lot of redstone. Now over here I'm planning to put in another lava pit, and this is primarily going to initially support the smelters I've got there. I've got the one in the farm over there, and I've got these 2 set up from what I've salvaged out of the city, and these are more intended for handling the automated stuff. So basically, as things come in, I'll be able to sort them out. I can send items that I know will not mix with each other into one furnace. This is very similar to a setup that I used way back on Agrarian Skies, and it's actually viable now because other mod packs I've played since then that are, your kind of hardcore survival, they nerfed the ability to actually take the raw chunks out of all of the sieving and smelt them. You can also see I've picked up some more trees over here, so I've finally planted down some spruce and got myself a nice big tree. I've made this building over here, and this building is going to become my new farming center. Because the one I've got underground, well, kind of underground, over next to the ship, it's a little on the cramped side. This I can kind of spread out a little bit, and I want to leave myself some room to be able to put in some automation for it. So I built that nice little room. It's made out of concrete walls on either side. I had plenty of bone meal to play with, and obviously tons of ink from the ink farm. This is currently blocked up because as I've been breeding the pigs up, they spawn out the babies, and the babies can walk under the trapdoors and happily go wandering around. I've moved the cows that were in there over into this little area here. So these guys are happily back there, and that is the portal back to the nether. I've got it completely sealed off because, frankly, I don't feel safe going through there on most times. But we're going to take you through right now and see what happens. Alright, so I'm on the other side of the nether. You can see some of the panic block placing I was doing. There's a chest down there, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to get to it until I can bridge out there and drop some gravel down. It's going to be the only way I can actually get down there since I can't place water. And there's another fortress right there, and you can already see there's a load of bad stuff spawning over there. Trying to get into that fortress safe is going to be really difficult. It'd be a lot easier if I could actually have some manner of flight before trying to go in there. Now, upside to that, I have to figure that the nether has probably got some good stuff in the fortress chest, but that's going to take a little while before I feel safe getting in there. There's the skyway that you see over stretching off into the distance there. This is all recently expanded area of the base, and I'm still working on the spot that you see on the left on the map there, kind of where I just looked a second ago. That is going to eventually get taken over and turned into a new section of the base, and I'm going to actually move the mob farm into another section, because over here I've kind of actually closed off one section already, just because there's no room for it. And that way I'll be able to close off the last of the mob farms. I think it's going to be a little more efficient, but you can see how easy it is to make the concrete there. Gravel, sand, same as in Minecraft, dye in the middle. Works out really great for a fast, easy block, and I'm getting all of the dyes I need out of this little shaft here. The squid are just going hog wild in here. In fact, I've probably got the better part of 9 stacks down below of squid ink, and a couple more stacks up here. Obviously, I want to move stuff because as I've been expanding the little trap that I've got set up here, it's getting further and further behind the lines, and I think it's starting to cause some problems. And also, this trap has a tendency to, unfortunately, deal very badly with the sandstorms. The water flow keeps jacking it up, and even once stuff is spawning in, now that I've expanded out that way, you can see I'm putting up my new trap over there in that corner. As I've been expanding out this way, it's been getting harder and harder to actually get mobs to come into that part of it. Whereas the corner, I can at least, once I take down the cactus, I'll be able to draw from both sides of the base, essentially. They also have a tendency to kind of follow you around, even though they can't see you and they don't make the noise like they see you. They seem to know where you are and like to spawn around you, and that could just be the Minecraft mob mechanics. But I'm going to be building a trap into that, and I'm going to have 4 of the gold spikes in there from the other 2 traps set up. And I think that will work a lot better in terms of kind of luring the mobs in to take them down. And you can see here I have a little bit of a bug on my screen. The tan temp info likes to turn itself off when you go into the nether. That's why I haven't actually, I got to go back in and find out just how hot it is in there, but I imagine it's boiling. And the other problem is also, as you can see, my hearts are a little wonky right now, and I'm still limited by the 6 hearts I currently have. But the game's doing the little bug where you go in and out of the nether, it kind of screws around your health and everything. So just kind of looking at what I've picked up and what I still have on me, which is not all that much. Like I said, I'm not too worried about arrows because I've got a little chicken farm off to the side here. I've also got this little automated thing for dealing with the zombie flesh I'm picking up. So I'm getting plenty of dirt now just from casual raids of that supply. The bigger problem is going to be basically the storage system pretty soon. I'm going to need to deal with that. But you see I've got my little chicken farm over here. That's a stack, almost a stack of feathers. It's over a stack there. Plenty of eggs. I'm more or less just letting the chickens go, and I've been throwing eggs over the wall essentially, and basically I'll just let them hatch, and then I'll go out after them a little while and pick them up. Problem is when they're out there, they pick up, or they drop the eggs, they drop the feathers, and that leads to the mobs kind of sitting around. So I'm back onto the quest at this point. I'm trying to work on getting that temperature monitor, but the big problem to that one... Well, let's just say I kind of wish that I hadn't destroyed the blaze spawners over in the city, because I need those heating coils. And the only way I can really generate blaze rods right now is going to be an IC2 with the blaze powder. I can compress 5 of that into 1 blaze rod. So I'm going to need a boatload of blaze powder in order to do this. The scrap box is such a low chance it's not even worth it. You can see I'm going to pick the compressor next. As much as I don't want to have to create an IC2 infrastructure because I doubt it's going to work with RF power, I'm probably going to have to, unfortunately. Then, of course, we've got the chance out of mob drops, but, well, the only place I can get it is in the nether, and getting bridged over there in a way that I'm not going to get mobbed by wither skeletons, because that will definitely kill me post-haste, and, you know, not get really knocked around too bad. It's going to take a little bit. I kind of really need to tackle that once I've done a little bit of better reconnaissance in there. I'd rather get down to that that platform that's got the glowstone and the chest on it. I'm kind of curious what's in the chest, but at the same time, I'm kind of afraid because that could be a very easy, nasty trap too. So I'm going to have to be very careful when I go down there. But you can see in here I've only managed to pick up 1 blaze powder recently, so that's not all that great. But yeah, I need to start really kind of taking what I've gotten and start processing it up. I've been letting it kind of sit in autopilot, and that's why I'm kind of really overflowing on stuff. Now these guys are small by design. They are not intended to be a full-sized system. You can see I've got a redstone clock on there from Extra Utilities to keep the output going. That works a lot better with the single ingot output versus the basically the block output that I have on the big smelter. So I think that will work. And they also tend to cool down a little quicker, in my opinion. So I think that will give me a little faster throughput. Another thing I've been working on, I've got the advanced circuit completed because I do have an IC2 rubber tree, thank goodness. But the redstone is what's really been holding up here because I keep having to make those stupid little redstone gemmy type things, for lack of a better word to describe what they are. And I decimated the better part of half of a stack of redstone already, and I'm still going. So that's the other problem with the temperature regulator, is getting those iron generators up and running. Now I have managed to make some of it, just not all of it at this point. I'm kind of still teching my way up and through things. But we'll eventually get there. It's just a case of having to sit there and run a lot of automated systems. And what I really kind of need to do is think about finding a way to get myself up in, like in Agrarian Skies when I was working with this sort of setup, I would actually generate I'd take a platform that I would have my cobble generator on, and then I would branch that out into 3 separate locations. So one would do it would take the cobble and turn it into gravel. One would take cobble, take it to gravel, then take it to sand, and the third would take it from cobble, gravel, sand to dust. That works out really well when you can pull it off. And the cobble generator, well, the one I've got, I don't know exactly how well it's going to do. But I definitely have some options there. Now, I have also been working on getting rid of, I can see I've got my entrance into the front of the ship now, and I've also been working on, you'll see in here I've got my little design for the stairs going down. I can, just wanted to make it look a little better. I mean, yeah, it goes right down the cobble, but it works. And then I've managed to finally finish up the tools that I needed, or the last item I needed to make for my cooking for blockheads setup here. So things are now finally letting me get everything built. Now, unfortunately, I've kind of confused myself a little bit, but it is the dead of winter, unfortunately, or close to it, and all my crops died off this time. I didn't get to them in time. But I've got a really good amount of food saved up. I've got plenty of dirt, even despite what I've taken out, because I know I've got it hidden all over the place here. There's 2 stacks in that chest right there. But, yeah, the generators are... I think what I was looking for here was trying to figure out where I'd actually put them, because I completely lost where I was doing all the items and everything. And then eventually I realized it's not a generator. It goes by another name, doesn't it? Or did I leave that out in another chest? Or nope, I left it out here in the crafting table. Silly Feral. Yeah, that temperature regulator, that's going to be tough. And then the next step in that quest is to then make the personal temperature regulators, which I'm not exactly sure I want to do, but I might not have the choice. Primarily what I'm looking for is a way to regulate the temperature in my crop area. I want that room to stay viable year-round, essentially. I mean, it's not that bad because Pam's Harvest Craft, because of the nature of how it works, it's immune to the effects of the winter crop starvation, as you saw there. It's primarily the Minecraft crops that have that problem, but at the same time, you never know. At some point, the pack could be updated, and then you wind up with all of your crops dying off and not being prepared for it. So you can see here, I'm shifting over all of my active hammering to sand. I'm going to let it finish up the last of that sand, but right now I need to go to dust because of the redstone. This is not going to work out the way that I'm thinking it's going to, and what I'm going to have to wind up doing is go back and take out the sand from the system, let it process the dust first, and then I'll let it kind of get the sand. But you can see there's a lot of stuff in here that I can craft into materials, but the problem is I'm just not using up a lot of it fast enough. Of course, that said, the problem is if you don't build up the big supplies when you really need them, then you're not going to actually have them. But you can see this is working out pretty nicely. I've got it set up with the hopper underneath the casting table. Yeah, the casting table there, and that is pulling my ingots out automatically. I still love that Skyway. That Skyway is working out so well. It's just high up enough that's not causing any problems, and I think that's going to really mean that I can very quickly raid the city there. So yeah, the regulator, I've got the hearty stew. The problem with the hearty stew is I need the other mushroom. I've got the red mushrooms, and I've got some downstairs in the mine shaft area to hopefully help it grow out a little bit, but I'm having problems finding the regular plain mushrooms for some reason. Now in other mod packs that are, you know, the hardcore survival ones, when you create more witch water, you tend to get more mushrooms. They spawn up around the barrel, but they aren't. Over here on the Tinkerpal, you can see I've picked up the very basic RF. I'm going to get the other two RF goals out of there as I build up to the temp regulator. Simply ineffective. Wind power. A lot of these particular quests are ones that's like, yeah, I can do, but could I just please level up straight through to other things? Like, here's the iron toolkit. I've already got mending moss on my pick. I already did that myself. Silkly Jewel, I can make that. Diamond Ore is probably really about the only valuable thing I can get out of that, because Epic Bacon, meh. Diamond Apple, meh. I mean, I've got other food types that can help me out. The Diamond Apple boost, it's not really worth it. So I'm probably going to wind up having to go for the Diamond Ore out of this quest. It's really about the only thing that could potentially be of use. I'm not exactly sure what it would be of use yet, but you can bet that's probably going to be useful for something. Then we have the technological revolution. Well, firepower I'm not going to worry about. Technological revolution, I haven't even made anything close to this, but I will shortly. You can also see I've made progress through creating life, though there does seem to be a little bit of a bug when it comes to the quests, where it's marking these items as, you know, the ones up above as complete and unclaimed rewards, but I have claimed the rewards. It doesn't want to let me actually claim anything, and I can't detect submit anything because I'm not holding it in my hand. There's also another bug with that chicken. There's a quest that requires you to have 20 eggs. That one seems to be a little bug too, because it's not actually taking the eggs out of my inventory. Mobs, you can see I am all set with the exception of the Enderman. That is something that when I try to take that one on, I'm probably going to wind up deciding to actually, I'm going to have to go into diamond armor, everything, and full enchant, basically. The slime armor I've got just isn't holding up well enough. It's about, pretty much at this point, half damaged. And that's just from taking the little hit here and there. And it's got the full-on enchants for the most part, so definitely need to kind of think a little more about that. And I'm probably going to have to spend a lot of time and iron on combining books and everything to get the best enchants. Alright, so you can see what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going after more dust. Or more accurately, dust to make some more clay. And the problem that I'm trying to meet here is I need more crucibles up and going. The generators I've got going can generate quite a bit of water, or quite a bit of power, but they are churning through the lava at a pretty consistent pace. So I definitely need to start working on bumping up the power regulation. Because, yeah, I can make a big reactor and everything, or I could make the different kind of RF generators, but lava, in this case, it's a renewable resource. With the right capacitor inside the machine, or the right upgrade inside the machine, I can actually power them up a fair bit. And overall, as far as the system goes, yeah, the conduits make a far better delivery system. The pipes, the transfer pipes I'm using are not great, but it does work. And that's really kind of, really... I like a dirt simple system for that sort of thing, and if it means that I have to have, 40 of the crucibles spread out across my space, then hey, why not? I mean, it's passive, and that's what batteries and that sort of things are for. I'll be able to store the power up over time and use it in just short, use it as I need it, versus building some ridiculously overcomplex system like, a big reactor, and then running out of fuel when I need it the most and not having any other way to generate power, because that sucks. A lot of these automated systems, if you're not careful, you can really run away on your power utilization. That's the other reason I'm not exactly thrilled about the temperature regulator, because that's going to need to be powered by stuff, so I'm going to have to worry about that, and it's not really a happy thought. Yeah, these guys are taking forever at their current pace. They're being fed by they're being fed by two lava generators, but the Stirling generator is not going very fast. I don't have an upgrade inside of that yet. Now, I'm really looking forward to is being able to tech up to Ender IO conduits, because, boy, that would make working with this stuff a lot simpler, and a little more complicated to some extent. I mean, I basically need to get a fluid transfer pipe going on out of the smelter into the casting table there, and just completely automate the whole process, because the bulk smelters are great at handling these sorts of big smelting jobs, but at the same time, it's kind of less than ideal when you're dealing with quite a lot of stuff, because you just have to wait forever for a lot of these blocks to cool. You could see in that chest I had my Ardite ingot over there. So I've got one Ardite and 2 Cobalt, and that's it. So I'm really loath to go after making anything out of those materials until I know for certain that I'm going to have some way to make more, essentially. And part of the problem with that is in order to make netherrack, as I recall, that's a bucket of lava in the iron, or the stone crucible, or stone barrel with redstone, as I recall. So, yeah, I'm not exactly thrilled with the thought of trying to generate bulk amounts of netherrack at this point. And that's going to limit what I can get out of it, because I'm pretty sure netherrack is what I need to sift through in order to have a shot at getting any ardite or anything. So basically I'm going to have to figure out a way of generating redstone that's a lot faster than sieving somehow, and I don't see that happening right now. Not with what I'm working with. Maybe if I can get some mining going on, some automated mining, I might have a little bit of a better shot at that. Oh, hey, great news in case you didn't know, cactus is burnable. Or may have forgotten cactus is burnable. So if you're looking for another excuse to have lots of cactus generating, this is certainly one of them. Burns through a ton of them. I believe it's 4 cactus for essentially 1 stick, or 4 cactus for 1 item, I believe. So that kind of sucks, but when you're doing kind of these quick little job lots here, or just needing a little bit, it certainly beats having to burn through all of your wood. I mean, certainly wood is a lot more difficult to get a hold of unless you're going full-scale farming, which I really need to. You can see I've got that big spruce tree in the background. I'm looking forward to being able to work with that and take that down and get all the wood off of it. In fact, I think you're probably going to find that a lot of my stuff is very quickly... Oh, almost got myself there. You're going to very quickly find that a lot of the woodwork I'm going to be working with is going to be from the trees that drop the most, which unfortunately right now means that jungle wood could potentially be in my near future, which is, as far as wood goes in Minecraft, it's maybe 1 step above birchwood as far as my tolerance for it. So it's going to be interesting to do that, to figure that out. But yeah, it's at this point I'd be far better off with a lumber axe from Tinker's Construct and going after these huge trees just to get a lot more in terms of wood out of them. So as far as getting conduit up, you're going to see I'm running into a little bit of a logistical problem here. I need fused quartz. And I also need vibrant alloys. So that's respectively, well, quartz in general. And I also need ender pearls for the vibrant alloy. And it also means I need to do a lot of setup in Ender IO and getting some of the supporting machines up and going there. Going to need the alloy smelter. And in order to make the alloy smelter, I'm going to actually wind up needing to make a sag mill as well. Because some of the materials that go into making the alloy smelter require stuff that I make in the sag mill. Unless I want to get into IC2, which I've already said is going to be, yeah. Let's hold off that until as long as possible, if only just so I don't have to live through the nightmare of having the macerator sound running full volume, because I still can't understand how after so many years they still have not tackled the idea of having a sound volume that is normalized compared to other mobs, or other mods, I should say. Other mods and, well, other mobs, too. I mean, the macerators, ugh. Just the grinding of that thing, especially if you're unfortunate and have low power generation going on. So you can see I'm starting to dismantle pieces of that system to move it over here. Let's also kind of discuss, IC2. Another challenge that I'm going to have with IC2 is power generation. Because in order to generate power, at least from the last time I played any significant amount of IC2, I'm going to need either lots of coal to put through the generator. I'm going to need to invest a lot in solar power, which I don't know if Advanced Solars is part of this mod pack or not. I'm not 100% certain. I haven't actually checked for that at this point. And there's also geothermal power, but that usually requires... The last time I played, you couldn't actually pipe lava into it. You basically had to stick it inside of a cell. So now you need to make a canning machine of some sort to put it into the particular cells, which require probably tin or aluminum, depending on, again, on how much they've nerfed IC2 or chunked it up for this mod pack. And that's going to require power to do that. So kind of having to waste a lot of power to get intermediate processes up and going. So I'm not exactly looking forward to it per se. You can see back there I set down the stone barrel with a bit of water on top of it. And it's surrounded on all sides to keep the water from flowing anywhere. That's kind of my quick way to making obsidian. Once you've got that sort of setup done, it's very easy to make obsidian. You don't have to worry about going out or mining it or combining it inside of a smelter to try to get the molten obsidian or anything. It's just a lot easier to do that because then you pick it up in brick form and everything, and everything's hunky-dory. Especially when you tie it into a lava system like this, because you're generating an infinite amount of lava, and half the time, unless you're putting a serious draw on the system, most of what I design tends to be over-engineered enough that spare lava in the little off hours is a pretty good thing. And what you do is you kind of set yourself up so you have that a little earlier on in your system to get first draw, and then try to design it in a way that you can cut it off if you have to. So whether that's being able to take out a pipe that's pointing it into the barrel or whatnot, that's kind of the way I tend to treat it, because you don't need to have obsidian all the time either. So you can see I'm working on the iron RF generators again. They are a pain. And then you've got the like I said, the regulator on the go. I don't really see, from what I saw in Nemson's video, I don't really see the point to it, because you're basically burning up supplies as you're moving around. You're not seeing that it's doing it. The effect seems to be relatively short-lived, and just what you need to go into it, it's going to require a ton more resources, because, I mean, there I'm looking at even more blaze rods, chewing through more diamonds, which I've got plenty of those, actually, so I'm not too worried about that, but it's still stuff that I don't like. One of the other problems I have is when the mod pack was written, it described the cooling coils here as something that had to be self-contained within a building. That it had to be an enclosed building. You could not have it sit anywhere like out in the open or everything. But at this point, I am now consistently seeing that it's not that as the problem. The problem is it's got a limited area of effect. So you can stand outside and still be getting cooled by this thing. So the quest guide is a little misleading in that area, and that's kind of sad. I've made myself another fridge here because I have no room in that one, and I would really love to be able to fit some more stuff in that fridge, because I got tons of food that's just kind of sitting out everywhere right now. But yeah, plenty of stuff from the crops that I've got so far, but not much else as far as variety goes. The big annoyance is the fact that I've still got to come up with the... I've actually got to look into that, because it would be, I believe Immersive Engineering has the item I need, the saw, to actually turn those melons into, be able to cut them up into normal melons. I'm guessing because on the world that I've crashed that watermelons must have some sort of thick, nearly impervious outer hide to them, I guess. I don't know. But it would seem to be, it's the only way I can actually get them. So once I got that, then I've got yet another food source to work with. In the meantime, I'm just kind of, even though I know I'm getting cocoa beans out of my sieving, I still want to have some extras on hand just in case, because, you never know sometimes. But now I've got the leather, I need to actually, I believe, start thinking about making that saw. But I know I've got to go through, I believe, 2 treatment steps on the leather before it's at a point where I can actually use it with everything. So that's kind of a little on the annoying side. Between that and the constant shortage of redstone, and that dust is unfortunately not going to give me much more. Anyways, guys, that's the end of the episode. It just flashed by without me even realizing it, because I ended it so quick. So again, I do apologize for not having a normal video out for you guys on this one.